Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. The debate started by a few of the war veterans to pressure Mnangagwa to leave office. It's gone up a gear. This was Comrade Blessed Gezi and his friends last week, making it abundantly clear they wanted Mnangagwa to go. And today we received or circulating on the social media this Twitter from Blessed Geza. And he's saying, I received information that I've been expelled from Zanu PF yesterday. Well, I declare that I'm still Zanu PF and remain Zanu PF to the core. This is what I was waiting for. The real drama now will unfold against Emerson's machinations will occupy State House against all odds. Any law-abiding Zimbabwean will just sigh in despair. This is the last thing we want. But it's not, it doesn't come as a surprise. We have got to understand that Blessed Geza and his fellow war veterans, and I want to clarify and underline that war veterans, people should not think of war veterans as only those who are retired. There are war veterans who are still in the army, in the police, in the CIO, and the prison services. And they've all played their part in the last 45 years to create the Zanu PF dictatorship. Robert Mugabe and his fellow Zanu PF leaders encouraged that and exploited it to the full. All Zimbabwe's institutions have been corrupted so that they become Zanu PF departments in all but name. In other words, the army is supposed to be for the nation, but it is Zanu PF. It's Zanu PF department in all but name. The war veterans, the same thing. And people like Blessed Geza are adamant that there's Zanu PF to the core because they've played their part in creating this Zanu PF dictatorship. And they know that if one was to say, I'm no longer Zanu PF, that is the equivalent of being splashed with goat milk when you are in the midst of hyenas. That is the excuse the hyena would use to attack another one. They pretend that because he smells like a goat, he must be a goat. And in a country where opposition are seen to be enemies of the state, it will be free for all. But the other point here is the failure by people like him to realize that Zimbabwe is a failed state because we have failed to produce a healthy and functioning system of government. Zanu PF, with the help of all these war veterans, created a de facto one-party state. Zanu PF imposed that one-party state on the nation, stifling all meaningful debate and democratic discourse, so that the regime remained in office these last 45 years. People like Geza here should be admitting their role in creating this monster. And the monster is not so much the dictator, but the system that produces the dictator. Fighting to remove one dictator only to replace him with another has failed to change or to stop the rot. 2017 military coup did remove Mugabe. The nation had failed to remove him through peaceful democratic electoral processes because Zanu PF rigged the elections with the help of the war veterans. And so a military coup became the only option. Unfortunately, the military coup only removed Mugabe to replace him with Mnangagwa, another dictator. The dictatorship itself was untouched. And what our friend here is advocating is no different from the 2017 military coup. He is only using his power and influence as a war veteran to force Mnangagwa to step down, but only to replace him with Chiwenga. Anyone who thinks that Geza and company will allow free, fair, and credible elections in 2028 if Chiwenga was the Zanu PF candidate is naive. Here is an individual who, even after 45 years, has still failed to comprehend the true reason why Zimbabwe is a failed state. In 2017, he thought it was Mugabe that replaced him. And now he's saying it's Mnangagwa and they want to replace him. But they're doing nothing to end the dictatorship. That is, enable these monsters to stay in power. It is ironic that 45 years after independence, in this day and age, we are still talking of what system of government do we need. When other nations before us have shown that a more stable and accountable system of government will emerge in a system in which all citizens have a right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country. This notion that there are some people who are special, who have got the divine right to rule the country, is nonsense. It is at the heart of why we are a failed state. The very fact that we are still discussing that issue 45 years after independence, I think is a sad indictment of not only the war veterans, but all Zimbabweans out there. Why is it that we have failed to resolve this issue and put it to bed? And our failure to do so is the reason why the country is a failed state and why we are paying dearly for it. The right of all citizens to a meaningful say in the governance of the country is more than just a right. It is the very essence of good governance. God knows Zimbabwe, after 45 years of corrupt and tyrannical misrule by Zanu PF and their sidekick, MDC-CCC, we desperately need to cure ourselves of this case of rigged elections and bad governance. And all we've got to do is sit up and demand that we need the democratic reforms to ensure that all elections are free, fair, and credible. It is laughable that Zanu PF should be proposing amending the constitution to allow the regime to postpone elections. A clear sign that they really have no appreciation of what free, fair, and credible elections are. The mandate to rule must be derived from the people, and they are the only sole source of that mandate through free, fair, and credible elections. And they do not only respect that right, they are now seeking to dilute it. Because by giving Parliament the right to postpone elections, they are diluting that mandate. They can extend their mandate. And in this particular case, it's even more laughable that the 2023 elections were condemned not only by Zimbabwean observers, but by SADC and the AU, that they were not free, fair, and credible. So now we have got a situation where a regime does not have the mandate of the people to govern, and yet has got the audacity to seek to extend its illegal mandate by amending the constitution. The amendment itself, we all know the process will never be free, fair, and credible either. Because since the 2023 elections, the regime has not implemented even one token reform. to make sure that the processes in future are free, fair, and credible. And so we have got a situation here where the regime is seeking to extend its illegal, its illegitimate mandate, and is seeking to do so by rigging the process. If there is anything that should force us to sit up and listen, it is that. We have allowed this madness to continue for 45 years. For Pete's sake, let's put an end to this madness. For people like Blessed Geza, hear this. Your idea that we should replace one dictator with another is not advancing the nation's interests. It's only seeking to advance the foolishness that got us into this mess in the first place. That cannot be allowed to continue either. We want a rational solution, and a solution that will last, not just a temporary solution to gratify your own personal needs. War veterans have always felt that they have got a special right way above all other citizens. In other words, they have the right to say who governs the country. No, that right belongs to the people in a free, fair, and credible election. Please get that into your thick head, because that is not negotiable. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.